another edition of the Weekend Review with E.J.
He is
Borka.
absolutely right. This is, once again, the Weekend Review, and I am E.J. Borkhardt, blog writer, published author, and it would help somewhat entertaining video maker. So, this week in the Weekend Review, we are going to discuss what has happened this past week in the Super Morpher. We are going to discuss what has happened so far in Beast Blades, and I'm going to give you a slight sneak peek into what is happening in the upcoming chapter of Beast Blades. So, without any further ado, let's get started. So, this week in the Super Morpher, starts out, Jordan is trying to shoot himself with a ray gun in an attempt to give himself superpowers. Fortunately, Ryan is able to get him out of the way in time, and the thing that got hit instead of him started on fire. Could that have potentially gave Jordan's fire powers, or would it possibly have just started him on fire? I'm pretty sure it would have just started him on fire. He was being a little silly, but, you know, we'll never know because Ryan tackled him at the right time. So, after that, Ryan is given a pretty much no decision whatsoever as a mysterious voice comes over every radio and television and every frequency in the city saying that the Super Morpher has until noon on Monday to return, or every single gang in the city will attack all at once, destroy and kill everything. And so Ryan agrees that he has to come back and be the Super Morpher. He can't put it off anymore. He can't stand aside and let the city be destroyed. But he's got a few things he wants to take care of first. First, he goes and talks to his coach, quits football again, goes and breaks up with Becky. Neither of them took that all too well. And Becky, at the very least, is going to come up again in the future. She will be become a somewhat major character later on. That's all I'm going to tell you for now. Now, after this, Ryan goes and he announces himself that the Super Morpher has returned, and the Spider tells Ryan to get into a limo. Now, Ryan is not aware of this. No one else is aware of this, but the Spider has hired Lori Boley, a.k.a. The Wraith, to follow Ryan after their little meeting they're about to have, and to watch him take off his uniform and figure out who he is so the Spider can blackmail him. Lori Boley has the ability to make herself invisible from all of the senses. So she can make it so that you can't hear her, you can't see her, you couldn't feel her if she touched you. If you somehow managed to lick her while she was like this, you couldn't taste her. And she has no smell, so she's completely masked from all of your senses. And so Ryan goes to the meeting, and it's pretty much what you expect. Come work for me or I'll destroy the city. And Ryan's like, no, I can't do that. Then the Spider decides, because he doesn't want to destroy the city. This is where all of his money-making things are. If he destroys it, he loses that. It's really hard to rule over the criminal empire of a city when there is no city. Anyway, Spider decides to give Ryan more time to think about it. Come back in a week. He's sure you'll have Ryan's secret identity by then. And Ryan leaves. The Wraith tries to follow him secretly, of course, across the rooftops. Finds out it's a lot harder to catch up with Ryan, or keep up with Ryan when he's running across rooftops than she thought it would be, especially when he starts jumping over streets instead of just alleys. And she loses him. But when she returns, she overhears Saul and Spider talking about how they figured out that Jordan is the one that made Ryan's suit, most likely. So they're going to go kidnap Jordan, find out who Ryan is from him, or possibly just use him as bait to draw Ryan out if they can't get him to talk. Lori decides, well, I failed my mission. I need to make my money somehow, so I will go and kidnap Jordan first, and then I will sell him to the Spider and make as much, if not more, money than I was going to for figuring out who the Supermorpher was. And that is the end of that chapter. Yes. If you haven't seen it, the whole thing should be up on my blog. Just yesterday, the last part of the or the entire chapter was uploaded. Check it out. I highly recommend it. It's good. My favorite story, actually. Are authors allowed to have favorite stories? I mean, they're kind of like our children. You're not supposed to have a favorite child. Okay. I'm not going to tell the Supermorpher it's my favorite story, but between us, it's my favorite. So, now we're going to look at what has happened in Beast Blades up to this point. So, story starts out. A young boy named Terran runs away from his plantation being chased by shadow creatures known as Acerbi. He ends up tumbling into a cave, finds this legendary beast blade of fire known as Pyra Equine. If you stick a beast blade into his respective element, it will summon out a creature made of that element. So therefore, Pyra Equine, shove him into some fire, call out his name, he turns into a little fire horse. He is saved because he doesn't have a clue how to fight with a beast blade, a sword, or anything. He doesn't know how to fight at all. Apollo shows up, an old mysterious old man, who shows up, beats the tar out of the Acerbi with a combination of his beast blades and his swordsmanship, which swordsmanship in his world is very, very rare. People have, for the most part, gone to the idea that swords are for summoning beast blades. Let the beast blades fight. You stay out of it. But Apollo shows throughout the story that, no, a good swordsman can take out a beast blade. I'd rather have a sword in my hand and a beast blade by my side than either of them by themselves. And so they go on a journey to try and find all 5 legendary beast blades because Lord Geraldo has the legendary beast blade of Shadow, the Acerbus sword, which is what allows him to summon these shadow creatures. The Acerbus sword, actually, whoever's possession it is immortal. They cannot die in any way. And unfortunately, in order to activate the Acerbus sword, you have to plunge the sword into your shadow, and then you cannot move from that spot because your shadow is pinned to the ground by the sword. And you summon Acerbi out of your shadows that are your minions. They can go about and do whatever you want. Now, Geraldo finds out that a legendary beast blade has been found. The only way to defeat the Acerbi sword is if all 5 legendary beast blades are found. And so he sends one of his generals, General Kane, to go and track down this boy, kill him, and retrieve the sword for him. He does attempt this. Unfortunately, this is where we really see that the swordsmanship is better than beast blades, as Apollo takes out a couple of beast blades that he had summoned couldn't handle. And so General Kane is sent back in defeat, and basically this general threats of, if you fail me again, I'll kill you. No more second chances after this one. And so he goes and tracks down Apollos and Lucas again. They start this fight. This time he's smart, and he uses the Acerbi that he brought with him for more than just a cover to retreat. And the fight is looking bad. They have summoned pretty much every single beast blade they can to defend themselves. The Acerbi plus the beast blades that Kane had brought are overwhelming them. And that's when Terra and her grandfather show up. Unfortunately, the Acerbi see them coming on their wagon, scare the horses, flip the wagon over. The grandfather dies. But fortunately for them, he had a lit pipe in his mouth. And so that's all the little fire that Lucas needed to summon Pyra Equine, and that turned the course of the battle for them. That, and the fact that Terra had a little dagger known as a power blade. Power blades work, you slash your beast blade with it, your beast blade gets some sort of new power up. For instance, this time, it gave Pet Ursa, a stone bear, stone wings so it could fly around. Now, as long as you are holding a dagger and your Beast Blade has the power-up going on, the power for that power-up comes from you. It drains your energy to create the power-up. Now, they win the fight. Kaden retreats. He goes and tells Geraldo, "Oh, I almost had them. I'll get them for sure next time. They had help from the outside." No, he's thrown in the prison, and General Aldrich is thrown against them. Aldrich is known as being the most cunning of all of his generals, and surprise, he also fights with a sword just like Apollos does. So they're on their way to Sharon City to meet with a black market Beastblade merchant known as Malcolm. Apollos believes that Malcolm might have a lead for them as to where to find the next legendary Beastblade. They get into the city, and Aldrich, being the cunning general that he is, has the Acerbi follow them secretly to find out where everything is going down so that he can gather more information and ultimately do more good than just capturing or killing these people. They meet with Malcolm. Malcolm, through the use of magic, is able to find out the location of the next legendary Beastblade they're supposed to go after. The magic in this world works as this. There is a black inky substance that exists in this well in a foreign country. Now, you have to take the ink from the well and draw symbols and patterns on your body in order to gain access to certain spells. If you try and when you activate a spell, you touch the symbol on your body, the ink turns into a dust, you breathe it in, and you can do the spell. It's a one-shot use, so unless you have lots of different copies of the same pattern, it's a one and done, and you'd have to return to the well to get more ink. If you try to bring more ink with you than what's on your body, it just disappears. It doesn't work. It fizzes out. And a little spoiler, a little secret that's not going to be mentioned for a long time in the story, but because you made it this far in the video, I'm going to reveal it to you anyway. That ink is actually the remains of all the Arius Avum that are killed in the war between Lang Khan and Ahir. So, these worlds are linked. Somehow they go from, modern advances and technology to medieval times again. How does that happen? I'm sure there's another story that connects them somewhere, somehow, some way. Perhaps Rebellion on Aquor, but I'll reveal that secret another day. Right, so anyway, Malcolm the merchant uses this magic to find the sword. They go looking for it, but before they make it out of the city, Apollos notices an Acerbi has been following them. And so he's like, "Oh gosh, they've been following us the whole time. The black market's in danger. You guys, get out of the city. I have to go save the black market, and I'll meet you over here, by the trees. Go by the trees." So he goes down there. He warns all the people in the black market. He helps Malcolm pack up, and they're making their way out when the Acerbi attack. And fortunately, Malcolm is a Beastblade black market merchant, so he has lots of them for him to summon, and dealing with the Acerbi really isn't much of a problem for them at all. They escape the city, go to the Carndale Valley, which is where the next Beastblade is, and that just so happens to be where Apollo's old friend Jerome lives. Jerome is an old man that had once been very, very active in the world, legendary Beastblade hunter. He has he's created and gathered the most powerful Beastblades outside of the legendary Beastblades, but because someone that he helped didn't help him, and as a result his wife died, he's shut the world out completely. He doesn't get involved with anything. The only exception is old friends that he barely puts up with. And so Apollos just happens to be one of those little friends, talks about what's going on, if he knows anything about the legendary Beastblade. He doesn't, he kicks them out because Terra's like, I'm from the rebellion, you need to join the rebellion, get out. So they leave, they search the valley, and while they're doing so, Aldrich approaches the children one at a time, doesn't tell them who he is, but tells them that, "Oh, did you know that Apollos actually trained General Aldrich? I wouldn't trust him. He's got to be a bad guy." And to another of the children, he's like, "Did you know that it's because of Apollos that Geraldo is in power?" And you're traveling with him? I don't know if I could trust him. He plants the seeds of doubt in them. They don't know if they can trust Apollos anymore. They ask Apollos about his past, because he hasn't revealed much of anything to them about who he used to be or what he did before all this happened a couple years ago. And he doesn't tell them. They continue to search the valley, but Terra is trying to convince Lucas the whole time. We just leave. Run away. Leave Apollos here. We don't need him. He's just using you, and he's going to betray you eventually. Lucas decides that, no, I want to give Apollos a chance. Apollos is my friend. So they eventually find the legendary Beastblade, and Aldrich and his two captains, Hugh and Charles, who he has also trained in the use of the sword, have been following him the whole time, and a battle over the legendary Beastblade of Water ensues. Legendary Beastblade of Water gets summoned. It is a water dragon that also does ice. Very, very pretty, fancy, and powerful. However, Aldrich is able to defeat it, steals the blade, runs away. His two captains are killed by Apollos, and Apollos is like, quickly, we must follow them. And they're like, we're not going anywhere until you tell us what's going on. We've heard this and this about you, and we want to know if it's true. So everything that Aldrich told them was true, not in the way that they thought, though. Apollos was the former guardian of the Shadow Blade. It was his duty to watch over it to make sure that no one else ever got into it, or got it. Unfortunately, he did not take his responsibilities very seriously. He did a lot of traveling, a lot of fights and adventures. And again, it makes, as long as you're watching over it, you're immortal, you won't die of old age, you won't die of a stab wound to the stomach, anything like that. And so Apollos decided he was getting tired of living. His wife was dead. He missed her. And so he had a new trainee, Aldrich, who was learning from Apollos the duties of the Shadow Guardian, how to defend it, how to fight with a sword, because, as I have already mentioned, it's a very powerful method of fighting compared to just fighting with beast blades alone. And then one day, Aldrich was like, there's a lot of war and disunity going on in the country. Wouldn't it be better if we could use this ultimate beast blade here, the Shadow Blade, to unify the country and make it stronger? Apollos is like, I'm sorry, Aldrich, but you can't think like that. That's a very dangerous way of thinking. I'm afraid you're going to have to leave. So he essentially says, you're not my apprentice anymore. And Aldrich's like, hey, Geraldo, do you want to help me make the country better? I'll distract your dad. You steal the sword. And that's exactly what happened. Aldrich comes back, tries to convince Apollos to give him a second chance, that he realized that his way of thinking was wrong, while Geraldo went and took the Shadow Blade, instantly turning Geraldo immortal, making Apollos mortal again. And so the two of them ran off to unite the country, and it turned into what it is now, a cluster F of, I'm going to enslave you all, and you're going to all follow me. So the kids believe Apollos. They trust him again. They all go running upriver, chasing after Aldrich. They are determined. They are going to get the Water Beast Blade back. They're going to defeat Aldrich, and they are going to continue their journey to find more Beast Blades. They manage to catch up with Aldrich, who is going down the river on a raft. Lucas and Apollos jump onto the raft, summon some Beast Blades. Lucas is able to get Rio Puto, the Water Dragon, legendary Beast Blade of Water, back into its blade form, recover it. So he now has Pyra Equine and Rio Puto, and unfortunately, during the fighting, Aldrich isn't steering the raft. The raft hits a mud flat, and that brings the raft to a halt, sending Lucas flying into the river, hits his head in a rock, and he disappears. They search the river for him afterwards. They can't find him. Before Apollos can kill Aldrich, Aldrich decides to join with them, to rebel against Geraldo, because the only reason he's been doing what he's been doing this entire time is Geraldo's turned dark. He's being evil. He's going from trying to unify the country to making it a strong force so that he could take over the rest of the world. That's not what he originally wanted to do. That's not his plan. This is not what he wanted for the lives of the people. But the only way Geraldo will listen to him and keep him close in counsel is if he continues to have success for him. And so Apollos is able to convince him he's gone. The blade has completely turned him evil. The only way to fix this is to kill him, which, that's Apollos' son. It's hard for him to say this. But Aldrich decides, yes, I will join with you. I want to make things right. And they decide, hey, we need to go to meet with the rebellion. We can help them until a new Beast Blade Master is found. Someone who can find the legendary Beast Blades, because they can only appear to one person, and that was Lucas. Now they have to choose someone else to appear to. And on the way, they're going to stop in Sharon City, get some repairs made to the wagon. But Aldrich has turned Sharon City into basically, we're going to capture anyone who rebels against Geraldo or who isn't 100% loyal to Geraldo. He's turned it 100% into Geraldo's city. So, what do? The Apollos and Terra... Yes, I am up this far. Okay, Apollos and Terra agree to let Aldrich make them appear to be prisoners. Then they can resupply. Apollos can continue on as if he was taking them to Geraldo, free them, and they'll just go on to the rebellion instead. No one's any the wiser. Everyone thinks, oh, Aldrich's still working for Geraldo, and this will give them more time to plan and prepare their attack against Geraldo. Unfortunately, they're Astrobine in the city. They don't follow directions, and they decide, hey, Aldrich is taking his time with this. Let's take these prisoners to Geraldo right away. He'll want them. He'll want them now. And so they start doing so, injuring Apollos in the process of taking him out of his cage, because of course they resist. Terra, on the way out, says, like, hey, you guys need to look on Apollos. He has important information. If he dies, Geraldo will be very upset with you. While they're looking after Apollos, Terra tries to escape. And unfortunately, she's able to get away for a little while, but the Acerbi are able to catch up with her, and they punish her severely for trying to escape, and they continue on. Meanwhile, Aldrich has caught up with the group that still has Apollos, tries to throw his authority around. Listen, you guys have to listen to me. I'm your boss, or someone your boss has put in authority over you. Give the prisoner to me. Go back to the city. And don't ever disobey my orders ever again. That doesn't work out. They get into a fight. All the Acerbi die. And so now Aldrich and Apollos have to go and find Terra. That is the story thus far. I talked a lot. I told you a lot about this story. I don't know if you guys like it when I go through and give you the entire summary of the story up to this point, or if you would rather do what my friend suggests I do, and just give you the information that is important to the part of the story that's going to be published next week, because it's more like a TV show where they go previously, and then just show, oh, this character showed up in this episode and was doing this, and he's going to show up again in this episode. If that's how you guys would rather I do it to make these videos a little shorter, let me know in the comments section down below. Now, as I promised, I will give you a sneak peek of what is coming next in Beast Blades. What is coming next in Beast Blades? Oh man, I screwed up this video already. I didn't give my announcer time to introduce it. Oh well. Next week in Beast Blades, there's going to be another fight between Aldrich and Apollos and the Acerbi, so that they can recover Terra. And the Acerbi are going to get a significant power-up. And Aldrich and Apollos are going to attempt to go and join with the rebellion, but something goes terribly wrong with that. That has been the weekend review for this week. Normally I would answer any questions that you have for me. If you have any questions about my stories, about me, about why the clouds are in the sky, leave them down below. I would love to try and answer your questions for you and tell you anything you'd like to know. But that is going to be it for this time. And I just want you guys to remember, it may be love that makes the world go round, but it is stories that makes the trip worthwhile. You all have a great week. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.